Alright guys, today we're going to go over a video of drawing number 2.2, which is the following drawing after 2.1. Real quick, just like 2.1, 2.2 is divided up into 6 squares. So I'm not going to really go over that, but I'm just going to simply draw it for you because you already should know my trick of 0 and 12 for this line and 0 and 12 for these lines. Once we get that, then we'll break it down. Real quick though, I went ahead and blown this up so we can see it a little bit better. So just like the drawing 2.1, the first 2 squares need to be broke up into 8 equal spaces. This one 8 equally, and then this one here is a little bit different. I start from the center and I work my way both ways. Now these drawings here, you're going to use the alphabet of lines, which is a PDF in Unit 2, and you print it off and it looks just like this. Now if we were to zoom into that real quick, there we go, you would notice that this line here starts here, meaning that's an object line. Then it's a hidden line, then it's a section line, then it would be a center line, it would be a dimension line, a cutting plane line. Oh, these are a little off. A cutting plane line looks like that. So, wow, I gotta fix this. And then a phantom line. Make sense? And this section line is gonna have a large dash, small dot, large dash, small dot, large dash, small dot, large dash, small dot. And then this just gets duplicated here, meaning there's an object line, then it makes its way down. And this is a section line, long dash, small dot, right, so on. And then this is the section, the cutting plane line. Okay, so let me zoom out here, because if people don't like to look at that and still get a little confused, in the blue book, which is on the counter next to the sink, you have the technical drawing book. Page 49 in here tells you exactly how to draw these lines, and it starts here. Visible line is an object line, and it's a thick line with approximately 0.6 millimeters wide. And then a hidden line has 0.8 millimeters of a gap with a line length of 3.2 millimeters. And then you can just simply go down these lines. Cutting plane line, you can tell, looks just like that, just like how we have them here. So ignore that other one, I'll fix that. But essentially, I'm not looking for you to be exact, meaning grab that scale and measure out exactly 0.8 millimeters, right? I'm looking for the line to represent it and look like it. So for instance, a lot of like hidden lines and center lines are huge in here. Center line more than anything, and that's a center line right here, which means it is a long dash, small dash, long dash, small dash, long dash. You're trying to get this space the same every time. And a person can get that by visually just drawing them. When you're first time doing it, right, if you start getting these small and you're getting them smaller and smaller as the line goes on, that's wrong. Because in reality, it could turn into this, which is a hidden line. And if it was really thick, then it would be a cutting plane line, which would be here. And then the phantom line has 2 dashes. So if it just looks similar to what I'm looking for, I'm okay with that. Alright, so real quick, let's just get after this. Let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and grab my scales. I'm just going to start working. Now, a lot of this stuff you guys already know, so I'm not going to really go over it. But real quick, the trick is 0 and 12 on a vertical and vertical line. Now, remember, we always like to stab with our dividers because they just seem to be a little more accurate. Remember, I went vertical, so this line must be vertical. And because, oh, I'm sorry, hang on, vertical, I'm doing this wrong. It's horizontal and horizontal. There we go. Oh, 6. There's that line. That's the halfway mark. Those are my vertical marks. Using the same method here, just like I did in the last one. This distance between 8 and 12 is 4 inches, and I know I need to have 8 spaces, so I just went 4 inches divided by the number of spaces I want, which comes out to 4 over 8, which is a ½ inch. That's why I went ½ inch increments. And real quick, now I'm going to look at these lines. So my first line is an object line, meaning it's just completely straight. My second line is a hidden line. So I'm going to refer to my book, and I should roughly be about 1 millimeter to about almost 3.5 millimeters apart. So I kind of know what that looks like. So I'm just simply going to draw it on my hidden line, which is the second one. I'm just going to go a long line, and I'm just looking to keep things consistent. There it is. That's a hidden line. Here's my object line. It's just solid. It's just like what I've been drawing all these other lines with. My next line would be a section line. So remember, back to our video, back to our thing here. Well, I guess the section line is just really thin. So we'll just make it really, really thin. Really thin. Almost kind of like a light construction line. My next line is a center line. So remember, small, long, small, long, small, long. There we go. The one below that is a dimension line, so I'm just going to be really light with it, because that's what I'm looking for. Really light. There we go. And then a cutting plane line, which is going to be dark. So what I might do is I might just break this off, get it flat, and push a little harder. Remember, it looks like a section line or a center line. I'm sorry, a hidden line, but it should be darker, right? So I'm going to make sure I really make these guys dark. Then my last one is also dark, but there's 2 lines, long dashes. Just like that. Then I'm going to repeat it over here, but this time I've got to start from the center with the center line. Start from the center with the center line, and then work my each way, keeping with my consistency. So, real quick. I'm going to find center by going cross to cross. Corner to corner, I'm sorry, not cross to cross. Being very light, remember? Now I might need to sharpen my pencil real quick. So I stab it out just like you would in all the other videos. Remember, the first one is the center line. So I'm going to simply draw it as a center line. Remember, small dash, small dash, long dash, okay. Then the next one's over. We're just going to break them at a 1/2 of an inch. Keep in mind, I'm setting this down for a reason because everything's oh, I'm sorry. We need to go millimeters, 12.5 millimeters. So I'm going to get rid of the scale, the architect scale, and use my millimeter scale. And I'm working with this top section, or I can flip it around and work at the other top section. Doesn't really matter. I'm 12.5 from the center each way. And I'm just going to mark these out first. So notice I'm sliding it not underneath the clear, but on top of the clear, so it kind of bevels it down onto the page. Set it in the center. Grab my divider, and I'm going to go from 110 each direction. I'm going to go 110 from each direction. So 10, 12.5 would be 10, 11, 12, 12.5. Now I'm not moving it. I'm just simply going to go back this way. 10, 11, 12.5. Now I know 12.5 times 2 is 25. So from 110, I'm just going to go 25 both directions. 10, 20, 25. 10, 20, 25. And then from that mark, I'm going to go another 12.5. So there's 10, 11, 12, 12.5. Here we go. 10, 11, 12, 12.5. Now that way I don't have to constantly keep moving this thing down because you're just wasting time. The whole point of drafting is to kind of be as quick as you can so that way you can accomplish a lot, but also at the same time, we all know that the quicker you are and the more productive you can be by finishing certain things or tasks can bring you up in the ranks or even get you promoted or just be more well aware of who you are as an employer. So I came from the center line. I'm going to go a very light section line. Then I'm going to go a hidden line. Remember, hidden lines are just small, small. So I'm just looking to try to keep everything the same. And then we got an object line. Really nice and easy. Okay, then I've got a dimension line. And I'm just looking back. I know that's the center line and that's my center line. So I'm just going back. That's all I'm doing. Dimension line. Okay, then I have a cutting plane line, which is the fat ones. So I'm going to go over it a couple times just so it looks like a section line versus a hidden line, which is a little bit lighter, because we definitely got to split them up. Okay, see how the darkness between the two are a big difference here, right? That versus this. Last one is 2 dashes. Long dash, and it's darker, right? So I just got to be darker with it. Okay, so of course this one would carry on. It looks like a hidden line, but it isn't projecting all the way up, so that's why it's kind of being a little off. Anywho, so here's that. Now we're done with that section. So now this is where it gets to being fun. After we have finished that, our next task is to simply break this quadrant up, and everything's done by 10 millimeters. Now, the thing that I found kids do is they go 10 millimeters from point to point. That's different. That's not going from side to side, a linear or a horizontal length, right? This is corner to corner. So we need to go a linear dimension versus an aligned dimension. So what I need to do is find the center. From the center, I'm going to work 5 millimeters each way because this space is also 10, which means if this is halfway, I need to go 5 millimeters. I need to go back 5 millimeters. Same here. I need to go up 5 millimeters, down 5 millimeters. And what I'm going to do is once I have these lines, I'm going to project them up to these two sides, and I'm going to stab only on this side and this side, because one thing you will notice is these lines project to each other. So we're going to make a grid system, because that's all we're looking to do. Is if you make a grid system, you only have to stab 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16, right? So you don't have to stab 16 times versus doing it 32 times stabbing. And God knows if you stab this way, then you're telling yourself you need to stab this way versus just projecting all these lines. So this is how real quick it can be. So my first step, just like all the other drawings when you need to find the center, you go from corner to corner. And remember, I need to be very light. That way I kind of know where the center's at. And what I'm simply going to do is I'm just going to make sure this is still square. Yep, good. I'm going to come over here to my center, and I'm just going to do a little mark like that, because that's my center, that corner. I'm going to do the same thing over here. And then I'm going to simply put these up here. And I need to split these guys right in half, right? So let's zoom in here. Okay, so here's my halfway mark. My very first one, I've got to go 5 up and 5 down. So I'm going to set it at 80. I'm going to go 85. And I'm going to go 75. And then from those marks, I'm not going to move this. I'm just going to simply stab on these 5 millimeter marks in between the whole numbers. So there's 65. And then I'm going to do it here. There's 95. So I got them all. So all those lines will project. I'm going to do the same thing up here. I'm going to set it up here. Notice I'm lining it up with my object or my border line, because if you do this out into no space, your lines could get off, and then as lines get projected, they get closer or further apart depending on how you laid it. So I'm going to set it here. I'm going to go 5 each way. Now if it makes it easier on you, you can put the 5 here, and then you know you're stabbing on 10s. It's completely up to you, and it really doesn't matter. But once you get the 5 first set, then you go 10 millimeter marks. Okay, so now I got it all set up. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to make a grid system. Now it's very important that we are very, very light, because it becomes easier to erase things, and the lighter you are, the easier it is to erase. And I'll give you an example why here. There's that. Now I'm going to go this way with it. Now, because I know by looking at this, okay, I know that this bottom one here, actually I'm going to start from here because I know my vertical lines. So I know this is the center. So I'm simply going to come from here to there, and I'm going to darken it because I know what it is. And while I'm at it, I might as well darken this one too. I'm going to go up here now. I'm going to do the same thing. It's out to here. Now, before I get confused, it becomes easier when you can start visualizing things. So there's that one. Here's this one. Then I'm coming in one. Boom. Now that last one I'm not even going to worry about because I can't bring this one in further to get to that last point. So I'm going to leave it there. Now I'm going to come up here. Remember, we come in one from here, so I'm going to go here now. And I better do it this way so I don't screw up here. So I can visually see what I'm needing to bring over, so I don't darken by accident the one I don't need. Now that I got it, I'm going to come back, go back into my dotted line. Okay, now how do I erase all those lines? Now we get to the cool part. So I'm going to leave it here, and I'm going to go grab a tool here. So we saw these in our video. They're called dry cleaning pads or erasing pad. So they're right below your drafting dots, and they sit in a box just looking like this. You just take them out of their little pouch like so, and all you do, just squeeze them, put them on there. Now, the reason why this becomes a benefit is if you drew light enough on these lines, you'll notice all these lines erase, and I don't have to spend so much time doing it. So I'll just rub it on there like so. If I need more, squeeze it on there. Just like so. And then I'll grab my dusting brush, which of course I don't have here. Let me grab it. And I'll just brush this stuff out of the way. Real easy, not too big of a mess, and I'm said and done. So let's zoom back out. There we are. So we're done with that one. And it was pretty easy, and I just simply rub it away, maybe even push it underneath my T-square, and then rub below my T-square so I don't keep dragging it over my paper. But that was pretty easy, right? Let's move it out of the way. Alright, so here's our next one. So real quick, I'm going to find the center again. I'm going to find the center in all three of these just so we can get them out of the way. And I won't draw all of these, because after I stop, I'm just going to let you guys visualize, because this was the first one I wanted to show you guys this trick of erasing. And the same trick will happen with these. Okay? This one not so much, because you're going to be doing it with your compass, and once you arc it and set your compass once, you can draw them all real quick. So let's go ahead and find the centers, and let's start with this one, and then we'll just carry on through the rest of these real quick. Okay. Now I found the center on this one. Let's zoom into this one so you can see kind of what's going on here. From my drawing, I noticed these are all 10 millimeters. Notice the very large arcs, they're all touching the center, and their centers are their corners. So this set of arcs are all the corners. These set of arcs are this corner. Therefore those, and there's these ones. Okay, so what I need to do is first I need to find the center for one of these arcs. So I better zoom out so I'm not hitting the camera so much. I'm just going to simply set my X in there, and I'm going to stab. I'm going to stretch this out to where it finds the center, and I'm just going to barely scribe it. Looks like that's that. Now I got the center set. My next step is I'm just going to arc it just like this picture from the center, from this corner, straight down. And then I'm going to carry on to the next one, up, and then this one down, and this one down. So, here we go. Now I'm going to flip it. I'm going to do this corner. Same center. Okay, now that I've drawn them all, we're 10 millimeters of an arc in between all of these. So I'm just going to measure this using this compass I just drew with my metric scale. And then I'm going to subtract it. So I'm going to simply set the 0 on there like so. I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to arc it like so. And it looks like it's 66. So I'm just going to subtract 56. And there I go. I'm going to push it out of the way, and I'm going to do the exact same. It's important that you go back into the exact same dot, though, and you draw it. Now, if you're good with the compass, you don't have to go back and erase. Boom. There we go. And then I'm just going to simply just keep subtracting, and then I'm done. Notice, looking at it, right? See how this big arc will cut all of these ones off? And then when you get down to your 6th arc, you're going to be doing complete circles. Oh, I'm sorry, your 5th arc, right? So I'm not going to carry on. You kind of get the idea. One thing is if your centers aren't lining up, then your center, you didn't mark your center correct, which means then you've got to fix your center. And if your center's still off, then you're stabbing your corner, not truly in the corner. So that's also another important thing, because you noticed as I set once, sometimes I had to move it out a little bit, because as I went over this corner when I first started, they weren't lining up very well. So I just moved my corner out just a bit. Not much, but just a scotch. So this one's done. Now let's move on to our next one. Now, this one really kicks people in the butt. And the reason why is because they see all these measurements at 12.5, and they see all these lines drawn at 60. They think they need to measure 12.5, 12.5, 12.5, 12.5, 12.5, and you really don't need to do that. You develop a grid system, and then you erase and you darken, just like what we did up here with this one. So it becomes very important. Again, we're very light when we do these light construction lines, because we're going to be using this erasing pad later to fix all of our mistakes so we don't have to come back and erase anything. So real quick, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a horizontal line, and that's the only line I'm going to stab my 12.5 on. Here we go. I'm going to draw a very nice horizontal line. Remember, I'm very light. My next step is I'm going to put my millimeter scale down. Doesn't matter where I stab it at, right? All that matters is that I don't move this every time I measure my 12.5 millimeters. So let's get close. Let's see what we got going on here. So here we go. I'm on the center. I'm on the line. I'm at 160. I'm going to go 12.5. So there's 10, 11, 12, 12.5. And then I'm just going to go from here 25 because 12.5 times 2 is 25. So 10, 20, 25. And then from here 12.5. Now notice, see how I'm stabbing outside my box? There's a reason behind that, in which we'll go over. But you need 2 stab marks outside of here in order to make this work. So that way you don't have to keep remeasuring. Okay, so now I have my stab marks. My next thing is I got to look back at my dimensions of my box, and it's telling me that these angles, these center lines, are at 60 degrees. This grid system, notice they come off the centers and the corners of all these 12.5s. So now that I have it on there, I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to grab my 60-degree triangle, which is this angle right here. I'm going to put it down. I'm going to come from the center, and I'm going to be very, very light, because remember, the lighter you are, the easier it becomes. Notice I'm just going to make a grid system, right? Now, I'm outside my box, right? But I'm going to project those lines back into the box. That's why we had those 2 stab dots outside. Make sense? I'm going to come over here, I'm going to do the exact same thing. Making a grid system. I got to remember to keep telling myself to be light, though. So that way it's easier to erase, and I don't have to go over there and erase stuff with my erasing shield so much. Here's this one. Now, I got to make a grid system, so I'm just going to simply flip this triangle. I'm going to start in this corner. Remember, the whole trick is to be very, very light. Okay, so I've established a grid system line, and they're so light you can barely even tell that they're on there, right? Which is good. Now, this is the fun part. At first, it may get confusing for some of you, but just bear with me, because as the confusion dissipates, it's because you have started making more of these hexagons and figuring out a rhythm. Notice, there's my center, which means if I go back this way, this line is 60 degrees, which means I'm going to just redraw it, but I'm going to be darker. Here's the center, here's the hexagon. That's a dark line. Then I'm going to come over here, I'm going to look back at it. It goes dark, it goes horizontal. And the reason why I know it goes horizontal, because there's a crosshair. See the crosshair? That's horizontal. So you just simply figure out a rhythm, figure out the visualizing, zooming out, zooming in with your own eyes, and kind of just trying to put this stuff in the background and breaking it down for yourself. Now, another cool part is, once you figure out a rhythm, okay, you're also going to figure out another cool part. So I'm going to draw one of them just so we can start visualizing this together, because this next trick is going to be even cooler, because while I'm drawing this, I might as well draw different ones, but right now it's hard to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what they look like. Notice it's crosshaired in there. That is my horizontal line. Boom, there's my first hexagon. Now my next step is, check it out. This is a horizontal line here. I know that because I've looked and drawn this so many bloody times, and I know this one's one. Check this out. This is one. Then this is one. Right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out a rhythm, and I already know it. So, check it out. I make a line, big opening, make another line. So, big opening, make a line, okay? Big opening. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and come back here real quick, because look here. So, I got it here, right? So, what do we got to do? We're going to look at it. There's one, right? Here's one. There's one. So, I'm going to stay here. There's an opening. Here's the other side of it. Now, before we get too confused, right, I might as well just try to keep together with all this stuff, right? So check it out. Here's one. No, wait. No, that's not one. That's the angle. So I darkened that one by accident. Here's one. Here's one. This is one. Right? And so I'm simply just going to keep coming back here and darkening and lighting and darkening and lighting and just trying to visualize this. So big opening, dark, right? Big opening, dark. Now before we get too carried away, I might as well come back and do this one. Dark, big opening, dark. Big opening, I can't do anymore. Big opening, I can't do anymore, right? Check this out. Here's one. Big opening, dark. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish this off real quick so you guys can kind of visualize what I got going on. Now see how I darkened that? I shouldn't have. So now it's going to be kind of hard to erase it. So I'm just going to grab my erasing shield real quick. Pull it out of the way. So it kind of went away, but not really. Here's this one. So now I'm just going to come back real quick, and now that I'm starting to get everything dark, I'm just going to start truly darkening stuff up. I can't hit that one anymore, right? There's one. There's one. Can't hit anymore here. There's one. So I'm just going to go back to here, right? There's one. Here's one. Now I'm going to go back to this one. So I'm just simply visualizing it. That's all we're doing. Once you kind of start visualizing it, it becomes fairly quick. So got it, got it, got it. So that one's done. This one we didn't do very well, so we got to go back and hit it up again. Actually, I did miss this one. So there's that. I'm going to flip it back. Might as well finish this one real quick. Looks good. Looks good. Looks good. Yeah, this is the only one really. That one too, I guess. Done. Oh wait, sorry. Bingo bango. Now what do I need to do? Grab my erasing pad again. And I'm simply just gonna Squeeze out some more here. Right, done. So let's just dust it away. Check it out. Now I kind of went a little crazy with that, meaning I really pushed hard on that thing. If I truly wanted to do this really well, then I'd go over it again. But because this is just drawings, I'm going to leave it alone. But some of you guys are OCD like me, and you've got to go over it again. I'm cool with that too. Now, this next one, I'm going to draw them so light that I won't even erase them because, you know what, light construction lines are kind of, I don't want to say that they're meant to be there, but it's meant to kind of represent that you're doing things right. So I'm not going to erase them with this erasing pad this next time. That way you can kind of see the difference when they are erased and you kind of did really, really dark, but you did really, really light. And then this one where you pushed too hard on the eraser pad, but you did them dark, but you pushed hard enough that you started erasing stuff. So here's our last one. Notice your 12.5 again. That's, I mean, it's just big. 12.5 and 10 is our numbers that we're rolling with. This one here, I'm going to find the center and I'm going to work this way. Okay? And I'm only going to dot on this line and on this line. And then I'm going to use the grid system. I'm going to disperse everything, make it very light. And this one's a lot easier than this one just because it's a weave. So it's over, it's under, it's over, it's under, right? I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. So things are drawn at 45 degrees because that's what it says in here, 45 degrees, right? So let's grab our 45-degree triangle. Come through the center again. Now remember, I'm very light, right? I'm going to try really, really hard on this one to make this one look really cool to where I don't really want to have to erase anything. Okay. And I kind of already screwed up, but oh well. So I'm going to put it on here like so, and this one we're going to do 12.5 again, just like what we did all the other ones. So now once you get outside here, you don't need to bring it in anymore. So once I get out there, I'm done. Now I'm going to stab this way. I can't do that last one. Now I'm going to come back over here, grab my triangle, and I'm going to make a grid system again. This time I'm going to try to be very, very light, right? My lights go out when I'm not moving enough in this classroom. It happens more than I actually thought it would. Okay, now I kind of already know my rhythm, but we'll go over it really quick. There's the center, so I'm going to come back from the center. Remember, center's here. I'm going to come back from the center, and these two are going to get erased. Or I'm just going to darken that one, and then I'm going to go 2, and then light. So, real quick, kind of already know, right? So I'm going to go dark. Notice I went 1, 2, right? And then I'm going to go back to here. I went 1, 2, open, open, and then I'm going to go dark over 2. 1, 2. Open. Okay, something happened there. My measurement got off on that one. Let's measure that again real quick. It's going to bother me. Yeah, I went 15 by accident. 10, 11, 12, 15. There's my mark. And then there's 10, 20, 25. And then the last one is, yeah, we don't need that one. So, real quick, I'm just going to go ahead and erase this line so I don't have it visually throwing me off here. Draw this back on there. I'm going to go back. So remember, it's open, then it's 1, 2, right? So open, it's going to be 3 spaces, 1, 2, and then this is going to be the third, right? I'm going to flip it. I'm going to look at my visual aid here again. So I did this line. Now we're going to do this line so we can start seeing stuff. So I'm going to go just like the same rhythm, right? Start from the center. Okay, I'm going to go 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. Skip 1. 1, 2, 3. Remember? So we're here. We're going to skip 1. 1, 2, 3. Skip 1. Right? So there's my kind of visual aid. I'm going to flip it back. I'm going to mirror this side to that side because I kind of already know what I'm looking for. Because I'm going to start to visually throw this all back together now. Flip this one this way. Now I got to look at it and make sure I'm going the right way. This one's above, it's not below, so I'm going to go up above it. On this stab mark, I'm going to go 3, skip, mark, 3, skip, mark. And now I can start to just physically visualize these. This was an opening, which is this opening, so I'm just going to go like this. So just so I'm doing it right here. So I'm here. I'm going to go back into this opening here, which is here. I'm going to skip it. I'm going to go over it 3. So 1, 2, 3. Come down. Might as well do this one so I don't get thrown off here. Right? So I got that. I might as well do it up here so I can start visualizing stuff. Makes sense? Now I know this one's here, so what am I going to do? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Come down to here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Right? Come up here. I'm going to go just like this one, right? This one and this one are going to match. 1, 2, 3. Come over here. 1, 2, 3. Come up here and do this one. I'm simply just going to start visualizing this now and calling it up. Because now we kind of got in the rhythm, and now we can just kind of go over it all. Because now I can visualize it and see what's going on, and I can just start doing it. See how easy this can become now? The weave method. Yeah, so we're set, man. It's all said and done, wouldn't you say? And those lines are so light, I don't really need to erase them. But if I wanted to, I'll just rub over it like this. You can erase them and make them look a little bit better. Notice I didn't squeeze any of this out, because if you don't just rub nice and easy, you don't really need to. So it kind of can become a perk. This line here now needs to be dark here though. It's gonna bother me if I don't do it. Boom. And then of course this one needs to go here like this. If I went over here, this one's gonna go like that too. Boom, boom, boom. Now we got it. Look at that. We're all said and done. Now, real quick, this drawing was number 2.1, I believe. So this drawing was number 2.2. So I'm just going to simply go 2.2. And I think this one's called lines and arcs. My scale is always a 1-to-1 because you guys aren't ever going to do anything bigger until you get into AutoCAD. My date, my period, my unit. My date is 10/17/17. Okay, so of course you would finish that, but I don't feel like I need to finish it. But you kind of get the idea. Remember, guys, the grid system. You've got to learn it because if you learn the grid system that people are projecting and lines always kind of line up for the most part, then you will speed up drawing. All right. Remember, if you ever have questions, please ask.